Let the word go forth that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed.
For years after John F. Kennedy spoke these words, the new generation, especially students, continuously showed this unwillingness, leading to the peak of the civil rights movement and to the strengthening of the anti-war movements. By questioning the way society was being run, students with new progressive ways of thinking began breaking away from the silent era that had preceded them. They became anything but silent. This was predominantly apparent at college campuses, such as the University of California at Berkeley. People of both the new progressive and older conservative views fought for what they believed was right, resulting in the campus administration attempting to censor the voices of the young students. Yet the students fought back for their right to freedom of speech, creating a striking conflict on university grounds. Although the administration tried to censor the students in many ways, the students unified and refused to compromise the rights they were promised by the Constitution. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution was suddenly minimized for the students on the Berkeley campus in 1964. On September 16th, the students of Berkeley received a letter from the Dean of Students, Catherine Toll. The letter stated that the tables at the corner of Bancroft and Telegraph, which were widely known as a gathering area for political life on campus, were to be moved. More importantly, the students were no longer allowed to collect funds for off-campus political issues. Members of political groups felt that this was a direct violation of their rights. Clubs such as Slate, which was a political party that supported candidates based on a set of principles rather than the party they were affiliated with, and CORE, which stood for Congress of Racial Equality, had protested for equal employment opportunity at the Sheraton Palace. Jackie Goldberg, a member of Slate, stated, "Our biggest challenge came when we tried to secure jobs for blacks and other minorities in the hotels of San Francisco. A picket line formed around the Sheraton Palace while negotiations with the Hotel Owners Association took place inside. This protest brought the campus and campus president Clark Kerr some unwanted controversy. Kerr tried to censor the involvement by banning all off-campus political issues. However, the students did not believe in off-campus political issues, but felt that all political issues should be a part of the campus."
All the forces in a society were saying, don't rock the boat. And we felt that the boat needed to be rocked.
The day after the students received the letter, 18 students representing different clubs affected by this new change approached Dean Toll. Though she decided to allow tables to be set up as long as they were limited, she would not allow the students to collect funds or recruit for their political endeavors. She also designated Hyde Park to be the free speech area of the campus. This would be the only place students were allowed to make impromptu speeches, but even that area had many regulations. The goal of the students was to make the entire campus a free speech area. In a letter to the current students, former student Brad Cleveland said, "There is only one proper response to Berkeley from undergraduates, that you organize and split this campus wide open." After days of trying to get Dean Toll to remove the regulations, that is exactly what the students planned to do. On October 1st, 1964, after days of on-campus protest for free speech, the first physical conflict occurred. While manning a core table at the steps of Sproul Hall, Jack Weinberg, an informal leader of the free speech movement and a political activist, was approached by a dean. He was asked to identify himself, and after he refused, he was dragged by policemen to a police car. However, Jack Weinberg would never make it to the nearby jail.
Two policemen took me under the arms. I went limp. They dragged me into the police car. And before I got into the police car, it was surrounded with people. And some people are joining in, some people are stopping to watch. This police car is going nowhere.
Mario Savio, an American activist and protest leader, removed his shoes and climbed on top of the police car. He encouraged more and more students to surround the car, all of them unwilling to let the police arrest Jack Weinberg. There were no riots and no violent actions. Instead, they began to speak. From political activists to fraternity members, students removed their shoes and stood on top of the police car to discuss whatever was on their mind. For 32 hours, Jack Weinberg remained in the car, and all of the students remained surrounding it. A negotiation was settled with the administration, but the students felt that freedom of speech was still limited on campus and refused to drop the issue.
Art Goldberg, the chairman of Slate during the free speech movement, said, "The remarkable thing about this entire situation is that there's been a coalition that I think is completely unusual in politics. There's been a coalition from Youth for Goldwater all the way over to the Young Socialist Alliance, and usually these two groups don't even speak together, let alone sit at the same table and work out general policies and platforms. All students agreed that the imperative issue was their rights being oppressed by the Berkeley administration. After the arrest, the university would recognize that their previous ban had been unconstitutional, but they would refuse the students the right to advocate anything that was unlawful. This was a substantial compromise on behalf of the university, and some students were willing to accept it, until Savio and many of the other leaders received letters over Thanksgiving break from the university saying they were to face disciplinary action. This pushed students over the edge and led to the movement's most famous sit-in, the final Sproul Hall sit-in. On December 2nd, 1964, students filled Sproul Hall to the brim. All 4 floors were packed with about 1,500 students, riled and unwilling to compromise their right to free speech. Here at Sproul Hall, Mario Savio stood tall and gave his iconic speech.
There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, you're so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
Students continued to walk past Savio to join in on the sit-in. Just before 7 in the evening, the university police informed them that from that point forward, anyone could leave the building, but no one could come back or enter. Yet the students found ways to continue the sit-in for as long as possible. The first floor was deemed the area for students to sleep. The third floor was where to study, and ropes were dangled down from the second floor balcony to distribute food. Infuriated by the students taking possession of Sproul Hall, Governor Edmund G. Brown ordered this sit-in to come to an end by force. Brown said the students' actions constituted anarchy. In 12 hours, 796 students were dragged out of the administrative building and arrested for trespassing and unlawful assembly. The students' response to the police was expressed by Goldberg. Now, when the cops come at you, you don't want to fight them. You just want to go limp. Not fighting back was a sign of peace. They were not resisting the arrest, but they were not just going to walk out. They were going to peacefully fight for their rights and what they believed in. The students refused to compromise their rights promised to them by the U.S. Constitution throughout the conflict with the Berkeley administration. Students of all backgrounds compromised many of their personal left or right-wing beliefs to break away from the silent era and work together to fix the real issue, their rights, given by the First Amendment, being suppressed. This compromise led to the administration granting students their right to speak and promote any off-campus political issue the students deemed necessary. Students of all different political beliefs saw that the censorship of their beliefs, no matter how much controversy it could bring, was unjust. The free speech movement united the students to fight back against an establishment they felt was attempting to suppress their constitutional rights and to stand up for what they believed in. Jack Weinberg coined the phrase, "Don't trust anyone over 30." But truthfully, the students did not trust the old way of thinking. They were fighting for a change with new, peaceful tactics against the traditional conservative establishment. This movement paved the way for students to protest the Vietnam War, oppression of African Americans, and even current issues such as marriage equality, police brutality, immigration debate, and the meaning of free speech on college campuses today. The free speech movement at Berkeley helped young adults realize they could create the society they desired through cooperation, because together they could speak volumes.